Let's begin with the SAC Chief Executive of the Public Procurement Authority, Ejeni, who has allegedly emptied all his once frozen bank accounts. This comes after a court lifted the freeze on his accounts. According to information available to the Fourth Estate, the dismissed Chief Executive Officer of the PPA cleared his accounts of all the funds before the current Special Prosecutor, Kise Japing, took office. Mr. J was in office for 2.5 years, and more than 41 million Ghana cedis was paid in cash into his cedi, dollar and euro accounts. An expose by investigative journalist Mansuman AzuriaWinnie dabbed contracts for sale led to the suspension and subsequent dismissal of Mr. J. But what more do we know? And you can see that the producer of the documentary, Mansuman AzuriaWinnie, spoke about restricted tender contracts, and a number of breach in procurement procedures. Let's speak with Mansuman AzuriaWinnie himself, who has joined us live with the latest development. But before that, let's look at basic facts about the scandal. And just as you see on your screen, the investigation revealed that Mr. J formed a company, Talent Discovery Limited, with his brother-in-law after his appointment as CEO of PPA. The company won a number of government contracts through restrictive tendering method. The contracts were approved by PPA board, of which Mr. J was a member. Now, President Akufo-Addo suspended ABAJ in August 2019 after the documentary Contracts for Sale by Mansuman AzuriaWinnie. And so we know that he was suspended. Subsequently, he was sacked. Now, Talent Discovery Limited, the investigation found, did not have the capacity to execute those contracts that it won. It then sold the contracts to individuals and companies without the knowledge or approval of the awarding entities. Now, beyond the suspension, the president referred Mr. J to the Commission on Human Rights and Administrative Justice and the officials of Special Prosecutor to investigate his conduct. And as you may have heard earlier, he withdrew his money from those accounts even before the new Special Prosecutor assumed office. Now, the Special Prosecutor disclosed that from 2017 to August 2019, Mr. J had 15,691,559 and 30 cedis, US dollars. And then when it comes to his dollar accounts, he had $4,667,655. And then his euro account, he had 54,500 euros deposited into his 3 bank accounts. So that's a cedi, dollar and euro accounts. These accounts were suspended by the then OSP, Martin Amido. So for us to actually set the tone for this discussion, here are excerpts of the documentary by Mansuman AzuriaWinnie. We apologize for the poor quality of sound. We'll bring it back to you for you to actually follow the conversation. But let's speak with Mansuman AzuriaWinnie, who put together this documentary. Manase, thanks for your time. What more can you tell us about this latest development?
Well, Aisha, the latest development, as you may have read in the Fourth Estate report, is that the accounts that were frozen, Mr. ABAJ managed to go to court and got the court to lift the embargo on those accounts. and he immediately went in and withdrew all the monies. The information we at the Fourth Estate have is that the mandatory period that was, or the time that was supposed to have the freezing order working expired, and the resignation of Martin Amidu and the stalemate that followed resulted in the stalling of the investigation. And so in that intervening period, he went to court and got his lawyers to argue, and the court granted his wish. And what we have also been told by our sources is that the Financial Intelligence Center could have also put or apply for a freezing order, by which time the Special Prosecutor's Office would have reconstituted itself and continued with the investigation and perhaps gone to court with the case. So this is why he was able to get all the monies in his accounts out. And we are talking about so much money that went into the account. We had about $4.6 million, 15.4 or so million Ghana cedis, and 54,000 euros in 3 separate accounts, Aisha.
So what does this actually mean to the case we investigated by the special prosecutor?
Well, I don't think it will affect the substantive case. What will be difficult, perhaps, is getting him to return the money if the court finds him guilty or if that is pursued. It will be easier to get all the monies if they were frozen in accounts. The state could just get those monies transferred from ABAJ's account to accounts of the government after whatever legal processes that needed to be done. But now that the money has been taken, nobody knows where he has kept those monies. And so even if there's a court order today for him to return the money, I don't know how easy it will be for the government of Ghana to trace and then get everything that ever passed through his account, which he could not satisfactorily explain to the Office of the Special Prosecutor, SHRAJ, and any other investigative body that may have handled this case. So for the substantive case, I think there is nothing that is going to impede the investigation. And I think there are even 2 angles. The money is one of them. The other angle has to do with the fact that his company was involved in selling government contracts. And these were contracts that were won with him approving those contracts or giving approval to ministries, departments, and agencies to go ahead and award contracts that his companies were involved in, and eventually he got them and sold them. So that angle of the investigation is also there. And I don't think the transfer of the money from his accounts should stall the investigations, except that it would make recoveries more difficult for the state.
Mansuman AzuriaWinnie, how do you feel as an anti-corruption campaigner with how this particular case has traveled?
Well, I think the Office of the Special Prosecutor has revisited the case, and I was called last year to write a statement, which I did. Remember, it happened in 2019. I was only called in 2021 to write a statement and provide more evidence, which I did. I know the current special prosecutor has released a statement. I think this was in February, saying that the contracts for sale scandal was one of the 3 major cases which he would be giving updates very soon. So I sincerely think that the Office of the Special Prosecutor would pursue it. The worry has to do with the fact that state institutions allowed the money to be taken out. When we are looking at corruption, I don't only think we should be interested in jailing people or shaming them, but we should be able to recover what is not due them. to the state. And then if you have bodies such as the Financial Intelligence Center, the question is, were they ever alerted of these huge sums of monies paid in cash into various accounts of such a politically exposed person? If they did, what action did they take? And if they didn't, what action are they taking against the banks into which these monies have been paid? And the worst of it all, for them to have sat down and allowed this man to take those monies out, I think it can be very discouraging when you realize that certain state institutions either go to sleep or they decide to look the other way for certain acts of corruption to be done. Sometimes it can be very demoralizing.
Mansuman AzuriaWinnie is an investigative journalist with the Fourth Estate. This is an issue that we're monitoring closely. We'll update our viewers as and when we get information on that. But the Public Accounts Committee has hinted that public officials and institutions that flout procurement laws and are found liable per the Auditor General's report will be prosecuted. The committee chairman, James Kluche Avaji, detailed that the committee was compelled to take this decision because anomalies that were previously corrected continue to recur. He said this during a courtesy call on the Volta Regional Minister, Dr. Archibald Lecha, ahead of the committee's six-day sitting on the 28th Auditor General's report at the Volta Serene Hotel in Ho.
We have laws in Ghana. We pass laws to govern ourselves. But sometimes when they get to a certain point, we overlook the laws. But we have decided now that let the law take its own focus. Okay. So if we infringe upon a certain law that we pass in Ghana, we don't have the power to prescribe the punishments. The appropriate place is the courts. Yeah. So we refer you to court. Go and defend yourself. If the judge thinks that you did it mistakenly or whatever, the judge will set you free.
Yeah.
So, and we're doing that to set as a way to prevent or to encourage the civil servant to do the right thing.
That's right.
So if you hear that we have referred some of the institutions, either district assembly or the secondary school, to court, and you say, Amaji came to my office, he didn't tell me that. So I want to let you know.
Okay, that's good
before we start referring them to court. So if they go against the procurement law, we refer them to court.
Okay.
One person has been confirmed dead, whilst 9 persons, including 3 in critical condition, are receiving treatment for gunshot wounds at the St. Theresa's Catholic Hospital following a clash between rampaging youth and the police at Nkranza in the Bono East region. In protest against the alleged killing of Albert Akwesi Donko, the youth in the farming community attacked the Nkranza Municipal Police headquarters and freed at least 6 suspects in custody. We'll go there live for some updates, but first let's bring you a recap of what transpired between the youth and the police yesterday.
Angered by the alleged killing of a 28-year-old trader and a footballer by the police, the youth of Nkranza, who had earlier suspended a protest march, vented their spleen on the local police headquarters.
We are not going anywhere until the police kill us all. Nobody.
They called off the march to give an ear to the paramount chief of Nkranza, Nana Kwame Bafo IV, who appealed for calm as he promised the support of the Traditional Council for speedy investigations.
If we get the culprits today, everything will be fine.
The demeanor of Nana Bafo, who echoed concerns of the youth, is one that portrays the feeling of insecurity among the larger population in Nkranza.
Even when I came today, my policeman, I was a bit scared when I saw him with a gun. Because you are not sure who pulled the next trigger, who fall victim. Nobody feels safe here. If the peacemaker is alleged to be committing this kind of crime, then you are not sure of yourself.
Few minutes after the meeting with Nananom, a section of the youth bent ties as they blocked a section of the main Nkranza Ejura road in front of the police headquarters, whilst casting insinuations and aspersions on officers on duty. Perhaps that was a shadow of things to come as the situation escalated, where the police headquarters became targets of the youth who wore hoods to conceal their identity amid threat to journalists to film their ads. They managed to flee suspects in police custody, including this man who was remanded by an Nkranza court.
Police station. Police phone in a for Abunsan, yes, for me, and now. Now,
the attack remained one-sided for several minutes until the arrival of a police reinforcement team. The youth, bent on taking the fight to police, stood their ground as they pelted the armed officers with stones and clubs. At least 9 persons who sustained gunshot wounds are receiving treatment at St. Teresa's Catholic Hospital. Reverend Father John Breme is administrator of the hospital.
We have about 9 people. Injuries. Some have been sent to the theater to be operated on. The second one is on the table that they are working on. So I was told that one, the bullet, penetrated through the stomach. So I think they have to work on the instance. And the other one, I think, was through the leg. So it has bled for many hours. Now at the theater that they are working on. And the last one at the emergency currently, there's a bullet, at the chest. So it was in coma, and they have the resuscitation that have been done. So we hope that very soon they'll take him also as well to the theater to be operated on.
Police presence has since been increased to protect lives and property. From Nkranza in the Blue East region for JoyNews, Ohiminteria reporting.
Let's go live to Nkranza and speak to Ohiminteria, a member of our security desk who has been following up on this for us. Ohiming, what's the latest from the town? We've seen videos of the clash yesterday. What can you tell us from the town today?
Thank you, Aisha. It is a normal day for residents of Nkranza, just that they are witnessing an increased police and military presence in their community. And before you called, most of the streets here, or some of the, some of the streets here had barricades that were erected by the youth, but the police and the military have been able to clear some of these barricades, but they've went ahead, to also block some of the streets for residents. So if you are driving, especially on the main Nkranza Ajuria Road, what it is that you will not be allowed to use the section that is from Nkranza to Ajuria to a certain point. But if you are traveling from, say, Ajuria to Nkranza, you would also be allowed to use the road to a certain point at which the police will lead you into a diversion that has been created for the residents here. I tried to get understanding of what this means as far as security is concerned in Ajuria, but the indication I get from the police is that because the police station here, the municipal police headquarters became a target for the youth, and this was more or less the center of the clash between the youth. They want to protect this section of the town to ensure that sanity prevails. Beyond this, I've also been speaking to the mother of a gentleman we learned lost his life in yesterday's melee, and the mother, described the lost son as 19-year-old Victor Owusu, a final year student of the Nkranza Technical Institute, whom we are told would have completed school in the next 3 or 4 months, and it's been a scene of cry, a scene of weeping, a scene of sorrow for the family, as they are joined by other well-wishers to mourn the departed soul of a gentleman they describe as the only child of her parents in the Adum Krom suburb of Nkranza in the Bono East region here. Aisha.
So currently, as we speak, what can you say of those injured who are in the hospital? Do you know?
I have been monitoring from the St. Teresa's Catholic Hospital, and the information I get from managers is that as we speak, 8 injured persons were brought at the facility, and 3 of them have been treated and discharged. So they are left with 5 on admission, and with those on admission, they are responding to treatment. So managers are happy that they are positively responding to treatment, and 3 of them being discharged in the process. But a while ago, I was alerted that members of the Regional Security Council are also being let in. So what it means is that the regional minister, Kwaku Edujan, who chairs RESEC, will also be here and join the representative of the IGP in the person of COP Tete Yohuno to probably visit the hospital and see those who have been injured and on admission at the hospital, and also visit the Nananom and engage Nananom and the youth as well.
So how is the police themselves responding to this whole confusion in that town?
It's been a very busy day since the police arrived yesterday. Yesterday, for instance, immediately they arrived, the youth had succeeded in taking over the Nkranza Municipal Police Headquarters. And they had also mass up, taking over the streets here. But immediately they arrived, they started, firing warning shots to disperse the crowd. Though the youth were a bit recalcitrant and wouldn't budge to the extent that they also replied police in that measure with stones and clubs, indicating their resolve to continue the fight in what they say is a fight to get justice for the departed Albert Donko. It was not until police managed to bring the situation under control that they took over the streets and also, positioned themselves at vantage points. Since morning and since throughout the night, there have been, occasional gunshots, warning shots being fired to ward off any of the recalcitrant, youth, indicating the presence of the police, that indeed they are in charge of the situation here in Nkranza. They were also joined by the military team, who also supported them in patrolling the streets of Nkranza. And so the indication is that police have been able to manage the situation very well. As we speak, they've been grouped and divided into groups or teams, manning some important public installations, including banks. Even at the St. Teresa Catholic Hospital, there are police officers who are providing security there. So it will be difficult for the youth, for instance, to regroup and then, unleash any attack on the police. And I can report that indeed, police and the military team has taken over security here. And it will be difficult for the youth to mass up to unleash any attack on the team here.
Oyementaria is my colleague monitoring events in Nkranza for us. We're there live and our lenses are opened. We'll bring you updates, but a conflict resolution and peace building development professional, Emmanuel Bombande, has been reacting to this issue.
That falls not just on the victims, but on all of us collectively as victims when things of this nature go wrong as they have gone wrong. But let me basically say that if you follow the conversations up to now, before my 2 colleagues left, with all the brilliant and excellent submissions they made, what comes to us constantly is the type of quality we put in the Ghana Police Service is the output also in terms of the quality that we will have. So very quickly, I would start with training and retraining. how are we training personnel of the Ghana Police Service so that inherently and intuitively they are aware that every action that they undertake, they must be aware that they can equally be held accountable for those actions, even if those actions are in policing and in providing service in the nature of the protection of civilians. And that is the complexity of policing in a young democracy or a democracy as ours. You cannot say that because I'm a police personnel, I can be trigger happy with how I deploy the weapon that has been given to me simply because I'm doing my work or I'm performing my duties as a police. You must be aware that you can be held accountable if in so executing your duties, you do not do it properly. But that comes back to the training and the retraining. I know for a fact that yes, we need more police personnel, but if you look at some of our training facilities, some of our training facilities were to take about 600 recruits, but they end up having about 1,200 in the same premises. They are overcrowded, they are not eating well, and the training in itself is not delivering the type of quality in terms of input. But we want them to pass out and be very good in delivering service. So this is one aspect of it. But beyond that, the second aspect is the interconnection between the role of the police and the judicial service. Because when the police makes the effort to stop impunity, for example, they arrest somebody who is selling weapons illegally. And I think there was an incident like that in Bolga last week, Bolga Tanga, capital of the Upper East. What the public expect is when they hear that such a person would be prosecuted, they want updates on what happened. But at that point, the case gets lost, in which later on, it is as if to say that it's the judicial arm of government that did not do its work. And so the police then are left on the ledge and hanging. So there is also how we improve the performance of the judicial service in supporting the police to do their work. And my third comment on this comes back to the professionalization of the police. But when we talk about the professionalization of the police, I totally agree with my former panelists that there must be also the constant civic education of citizens and the populace, that it doesn't matter how difficult the situation may be, do not go after the police to hurt them or to destroy public property. Because the police, when they wear the uniform, they represent all of us as citizens of the state of Ghana. When you attack them, you're not attacking individuals, you're attacking the state. And often their response, as Professor Enin said, becomes disproportionate. So we need to educate particularly the youth that the answer is not in attacking the police. But having made this observation,
Emmanuel Bombande is a conflict resolution expert. Now, the Lands and Natural Resources Minister has labeled rumors of the sale of Achimota Forest as baseless allegations stemming from uninformed positions. He says what has happened is just a reclassification of the land and not sale. This morning, my colleague Sam Okojo-Brace has been interacting with some Ghanaians around the reserve. He's joined me in the studio with more. Ojo, good to see you. How are you doing?
I'm good. You?
What are Ghanaians saying about this whole rumor about whether Achimota Forest is being sold or not?
I think it's a total rejection of the idea of a sale. That they feel the forest plays a huge role in terms of managing or maintaining the ecosystem, and therefore it will be out of place if the forest is sold. They feel that even the peripherals that the government is talking about should not be even released, and that we should maintain the forest as it is and develop it as government has promised, that they have already started plans to redevelop that forest into a very important ecosystem or an eco-tourist site. And so Ghanaians everybody I spoke to disagreed with the sale, and rather said the place should be developed.
But, so you've been at the forest?
Yes, I know. But the thing is that you are not being allowed to enter the forest.
Okay.
Especially so we entered there. We went there with a branded car. So as soon as they saw us, it was no, you cannot be here, you know. So we were not allowed entry. So we had to be on the frontage to then get the thought of Ghanaians who were coming.
But give me a description of what the place looks like as we speak.
Well, the front, you know, I think there are people who sell on the frontage. So, I mean, when you get there, they are there. You get to see some few people there. You see some people entering. I met a woman who I think is a prayer warrior and prays inside the forest, who really was against the idea of a sale. And he said the problems we are facing as a country and as a world, a lot of it stems from the spiritual world. And so you need people who pray. And if they go there to pray and the government wants to sell, it will be a bad omen for the country.
Listen to Ghanaians reacting to this.
I think selling it will be a bad idea. It's not a good thing to sell the land. Because when it rains, it's the forest that protect us. The trees and the, how do you call it, the trees and stuff, they protect us. So if you have to sell the land, that will not make any good use to us. Yeah. So I don't think he selling it will be a good idea. No, he shouldn't.
All right then.
All right.
Okay, we are planting trees, right? So why do we sell the existing ones when we want to plant more? We should rather protect what we have and then build upon what we have, not rather destroying what had already been preserved. This has been preserved for ages. So why is it that today there's a need to destroy what we have protected for ages? It's not right to sell it.
Sure. Well, government says I'm not selling. I'm only giving the peripherals where already development have started to the family for some other development. What do you make of it?
Is it needful? Is it needful? It's not needful to even give out a portion of it. We are supposed to rather protect it, not to give part of it. We know it has been depleted to a way. We are supposed to rather protect what is left, not to give it out. So it's a bad idea. Even giving out the peripherals is a bad idea.
That's okay. That's good. That's good news. But selling it is not good, because the forest is here since long time, and I think it is a good place for us, as you are seeing the environment. Even some visitors has to come here to come and take some enjoyment for themselves. So I don't think it's good for selling it or to sell it.
Okay. Well, a forest is a forest, you know. There shouldn't be anything like I'm giving some part of it to individuals for them to use it to do something, okay? Because forest is reserved, understand? But then already you can see some activities already going on along the forest. So the government think there's nothing wrong giving those portions to individuals to use for their daily activities. So that's how the whole thing is like set up like.
And what do you make of that? Like government thinks so there's the development is already taking place, so no need. Let's move on. What do you think of that?
Well, it's not the best idea right now, I think so, because if some part is already given to some people, I don't think it will take that long for everything to be given to individuals with time. So they should put that idea aside of giving it to some people for them to use it and everything, blah, blah, blah. They should reserve the forest as it is. That's the best idea. Because looking at the ecosystem right now, a lot of places are losing their forests due to these activities, giving some part to it. Before you realize, the whole thing is being taken over. So I think we should reserve it as it is and then let nature take its course.
So you have the cross section of the public reacting to rumors that Achimota Forest will be sold or is being sold. My colleague Kojo Brace is still here with me in the studio. I know that the zoo was moved to the Achimota Forest. Is it still there?
Yeah, at least for the signage I saw the Accra Achimota Zoo still rating on the frontage. So I suspect that it's still there.
It's still
from what
there.
I saw, yes.
Okay, so in the event that the place is reclassified, what happens to...
Yeah, that's where we need to be giving the extent of the land being given out, so we can tell whether the zoo will be affected or will not. Government explains that it is not the forest that is being given as the peripherals or the periphery of the forest. So we need to understand if you say periphery, from where to where, so that we can tell from a layman's point of view whether that will be affected or not.
I mean, whichever way it goes, whether it is for sale or whether it's being reclassified, I think that government must provide a lot more information for the public, for people to understand what exactly is happening to the place. Kojo Brace, thank you so much for the update. Let's take a break on News Desk. When we return, we'll bring you the very latest from the world of business.
Hello and welcome. It's time to do business here on News Desk. My name is Beverly Broom. President of the ARB Apex Bank Ladies Association, Iris Obeng-Tuda, has said the creation of the association is to aid in driving development for the bank. According to her, the group will consolidate the efforts of ladies from the rural and community banks across the country in ensuring that the bank achieves its target. She spoke to Joy Business at the launch of the ARB Apex Bank Ladies Association.
At the launch of the ARB Apex Bank Ladies Association, members of the association were entreated to be confident and united. The ladies were further urged to promote activities that will enhance the talent of members and prepare them for challenging opportunities in the future. Madam Iris Obeng-Tuda, president of the association, called on its members to be prepared to support the growth of the association and the bank at large.
And we also want to achieve, by extension, Apex Bank is a mini central bank for the rural banks. So automatically we would want to drag the rural banks along with us in this form of unity, because they are far off because they are not in the city or something, and they seem to be very far and left behind. So we want to drag them along and see many of our ladies being in the forefront of the rural banking fraternity. There are over 149 banks, rural community banks, and only 8 are female CEOs. All the CEOs are men. So 141 are men and only 8 are women. So we want to get a target where, if not half, we can get about a quarter of ladies becoming, because they are also, let me say, they are also, because career-wise we are there, character-wise and everything, but we wonder what is hindering us. Just as our bishop said, fear of competition, fear to be talked to, a lot of things are hindering us. We want to unleash the potential in us as women.
Managing Director for ARB Apex Bank, Alex Ewa, commended the initiative by the ladies. Speaking on various reported fraud cases at rural and community banks across the country, he revealed that the bank is on course to deal with perpetrators of such acts.
The association was mooted by the good, hard-working ladies of this bank. And when they presented the proposal to us, we thought it wise that, from Bible times, women have been a potential force. And more so the fact that when you look at the caliber of women that we have in the bank, these are people with knowledge, with skills, with qualifications, with, everything. And we thought it wise that there is need for management to give them all the encouragement so that we can put our ladies together in our institutions. In fact, every financial institution, it is there. But it is the structures that are in place to deal with it, mitigate and prevent it, which are important. And that one you can count on us that ARB Apex Bank of Ghana and the boards, the governance structures in the rural banks, we have implemented strong, resilient control measures to ensure that we deal with it.
The ARB Apex Bank Ladies Association plays a collective role to the success of the bank.
Deputy Minister for Communication and Digitalization, Amapoma Boateng, has encouraged dissatisfied customers to report telecommunication providers when they provide poor services. Speaking to Joy Business on the sidelines of the 2022 World Telecommunication and Information Society Day, she noted that it's within the rights of consumers to report their telecommunication providers.
World Telecommunications and Information Society Day is being celebrated annually on every 17th May since its inception in 1969 to mark the founding of ITU and the signing of the first International Telegraph Convention in 1865. This year, Ghana joined the rest of the world to observe the day under the theme, Digital Technologies for Older Persons and Healthy Aging. Addressing the media, Amapuma Boatin entreated customers to lodge complaints of bad service to the NCA, and the necessary sanctions will be meted out to service providers.
When it comes to quality of service, NCA, people have the right to report to NCA that maybe the quality from my service provider is not as expected. Every citizen has the right to get what they pay for. These services are not free, so the telcos must give us the quality that we want, or probably more than what we expect. So NCA has a center or a number that you can call and have those complaints put to. And NCA would contact the telcos and make sure that, at this period, your service was poor. And, there are consequences. So the telcos and NCA all know about this. But when nobody complains, some of the issues, they might never get to the authorities. So people have the right to ask and get what they pay for. If your service is not good, please report to NCA.
The ministry also expressed worry about the low enthusiasm attached to the SIM card registration, despite extending the deadline to July 1.
We are worried, but we listen. We listened when people said they needed more time. We know the telcos were not comfortable with it because they were ready to send out more people to do the registration, which I think is still ongoing. And but there was so much pressure for us to extend it. People said they were waiting for their IDs to be ready before they can get on board. So with all of those things, we extended it. We've also realized that the number of people that register on a daily basis has also dropped. So we are going to intensify the advocacy once again. That the fact that it's been extended doesn't mean you wait till the 30th and then you go look for your IDs to go register.
Head of Office at UNESCO Ghana, Abdurrahman Diallo, who spoke for the United Nations Secretary General, called for improved internet services.
Information technology has vast potential to improve the lives of older people and their families and communities. But to make the most of the opportunities presented by 5G, artificial intelligence, the Internet of Things, digital health, and other technologies, we must dramatically improve accessibility and inclusivity. Nearly half of humanity still has no access to the internet. We must connect everyone, everywhere by 2030, because leaving no one behind means leaving no one offline.
That's all for business now, but we have more business stories when you log on to myjoyonline.com/business. Up next is sports.
It's time now for sports. Lawrence Veda is here with the very latest from the world of sports. It's all about the Ghana Premier League.
Yeah, Aisha, if you can recall, since Monday, it's been the demotion of Ashanti Gold and Interlife to the Division 2 that has dominated the news. Thankfully today, the league resumes and it's a midweek action. Our focus today will obviously be the game between Hearts of Oak and then BN Gold Stars. Hearts of Oak are handicapped at the moment because there are reports there's been an outbreak in their camp with most of their players being sick at the moment.
Okay.
There was a request the game is postponed, but then the FA looks to have rejected that request from Hearts of Oak. So the game is set to be played today.
And what should we expect from that game?
We know BBN Gold Stars have secured a place for next season's league as well. This was their maiden appearance in the Ghana Premier League, and then they've secured their spot to play in the season, next season's competition again. For Hearts of Oak, the league looks almost lost because in third position, Asante Kotoko look to have run away with the league title. So they are only playing for what could be a respectable position in the league.
But you look at the performance of Hearts of Oak over the period and BBNE Gold Stars. I mean, you just
in terms of quality, as Hearts of Oak are far ahead. But you look at the fact that Hearts will be without some key players due to the outbreak in the camp. If you're a BBNE Gold Stars fan, you give yourself a chance that look, Hearts of Oak won at the dance park in BBNE the last time we met. So there's our chance. We can also have one at them, take advantage of.
Is it even possible? Is it possible that BBNE
Aisha, as I said, BBNE Gold Stars are not a bad side. They've played some good football when they've had their good days. So I believe.
Talking about the Masters.
Aisha, you can be a master, but without your quality players, you don't have the class.
So are you saying that the team we have, I mean, for this one, we don't have?
Well, even their team manager earlier complained that they cannot be able to raise 11 starters for this game. It's shocking.
Really?
I believe the FA should have done something about it, because to have almost all your players out with illness, that doesn't look good. Doesn't look good for the league. But then there's no positive feedback from the FA, and then the game will go ahead as planned.
We wish them our best.
Yeah,
Aisha,
before
the Masters, I just trust the guys. They'll do it. So
trust can be fine for them. But then before we go, just to update our viewers on what's happening in the Division 1 League, there's a big game today coming up at the Tema Stadium, because Liberty Professionals and Tema Youth will go head-to-head. Both are logged on 52 points after 25 games.
Okay.
So the winner from today's game will probably go 3 points clear and give themselves a chance to return to the Ghana Premier League next season.
It will be fantastic to watch that game. Thank you so much, Lawrence.
Thank you, Aisha,
for bringing us sports, and that'll be it for News Desk. My name is Aisha Ibrahim. Many thanks for watching. For more news, log on to myjoyonline.com. You get updates of all the developing stories. See you again at 12.